The U.S. has again chosen to postpone Russian state oil giant Lukoil sales as a means of pressure on Russia. But is it? Quoting Budanov, "The fall of Putin's regime will not make Russia safer. The only safe scenario is the collapse of the empire and the formation of free and separate countries in its place." To secure China's support in the ongoing peace process, German Chancellor Merz travels to China. The Telegram channel Ashes reports that the Belgorod Thermal Power Plant was hit on February 26th. As a result, in the Russian city of Belgorod, 60,000 people were left with no power. Local authorities reported that Belgorod and the Belgorod district were subjected to a massive missile attack by the Ukrainian armed forces on the evening of February 26th. According to authorities, no one was injured, while energy infrastructure facilities suffered serious damage, causing outages in electricity, water, and heat. President Zelenskyy says that Ukraine cannot regain its territories now. In the interview with Sky News, the president of Ukraine explains that at this stage, it would mean the loss of a large number of people. Also, withdrawing from these cities would mean that Ukraine would leave 200,000 people under occupation, who could be subjected to what has already happened in other occupied Ukrainian territories. But the important point is, Russia cannot occupy Donbas. Zelenskyy adds that the issue of surrendering Donbas is not only a red line, but also a line of defense.
If you speak about territories, first of all, how to get back all the land, for today it's very difficult, and it will be too much losses, people, lives, and this is, and it's really difficult, but what is good that Russia also can't do it on the battlefield, so that's why they are not winning, and we are not losing.
The fundamental ideology of Russia has never changed. This was stated by the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Kyrylo Budanov, in an interview with the Arab media Almodan. Therefore, Ukraine needs to create conditions under which Russia will cease to exist as an empire. Budanov adds, Russia's internal problems continue to increase. Putin has no clear path to victory over Ukraine, and the time has come to bring the war to an end. But Budanov believes Putin doesn't fully realize the scale of poverty and economic problems in Russia.
Regime changes in Russia have not changed its essence. Regardless of its current name, its core ideology remains unchanged. Overall, the policies of the current Russian president are not substantially different from those of the Tsarist or Soviet eras. Likewise, we should not expect Russia to change again due to internal factors. We must create conditions under which Russia disappears as an empire. Kyrylo Budanov, the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, in an interview with Almodan.
Reuters informs that the United States is, again, slowing down the sale of Russian oil giant Lukoil's international assets to pressure Russia in the Ukraine peace talks, according to 4 sources familiar with the discussions. On Thursday, the U.S. Office of Foreign Assets Control will extend the February 28th deadline to April 1st for deals to be concluded on Lukoil assets on sale, as an OFAC document reviewed by Reuters showed. As U.S., Russian, and Ukrainian government officials have not made a breakthrough in talks in Geneva, Abu Dhabi, and Miami in recent weeks to negotiate a peace deal in Ukraine. These discussions included the U.S. sanctions on Russia's top oil producer, state-run Rosneft, as well as on second-largest producer, Lukoil, according to 3 sources who were briefed on the meetings. Trump's administration expects that postponing the Lukoil asset sales will pressure Russia to a peace deal. April 1st, the International Fool's Day. Just saying. Also, I am just saying that I am not really sure that this is a peace through strength protocol we are looking at here, unless we are looking at Russian strength and American weakness. Arrest all these Russian assets, then say, you strike a peace deal and stop a bloodshed first. Then you can do business and sell oil. Now that is a signal of strength. To postpone a sale of Russian assets for and call it pressure on Russia is like calling drowning a negative swimming experience. But what do I know, right? Let's wait and see who's going to be fooled on April 1st this year. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorsky, speaking in the same Polish parliament on 26th of February, praised Ukrainian immigrants for their high level of economic activity in Poland, noting that they have established more than 120,000 companies, are working hard, and paying taxes.
Thanks EU's dense network of ties with Ukraine, Poland is a gateway to investment, and Ukrainians living in Poland are already contributing to the development of the Polish economy. In 2024, our GDP have increased by almost 100 billion zlotys thanks to them. This is more than half of the amount for the National Health Fund in the same year. The vast majority of Ukrainians refugees work or run business. The level of professional activity of adult immigrants from Ukraine is even higher than among Poles. Since 2022, Ukrainians have founded over 120,000 companies in Poland, which employ people, pay taxes, and increase the country's trade turnover with Ukraine.
Sikorsky said that the level of professional activity amongst adult immigrants from Ukraine was even higher than amongst Poles, adding that since 2022, Ukrainians had established more than 120,000 companies in Poland, which employ people, pay taxes, and increase the country's trade turnover with Ukraine significantly. Poland's foreign minister said that for 4 years, Poland has been demonstrating what the slogan "Polish solidarity" really means, and added that the role of Ukrainian immigrants would even grow in peacetime. In December 2025, also the Polish president expressed satisfaction that Ukrainians who arrived in Poland have found a home here. On 19 February, President Karol Nawrocki signed a decree providing for the integration of all support instruments for Ukrainian refugees into the General Law on Protection for Foreigners. Europe intends to secure China's support in the ongoing peace process, signals German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who made his first visit to China since taking office. While publicly maintaining a stance of neutrality regarding Russia's war against Ukraine, China continues to foster deep ties with Moscow, relations that have only strengthened since the start of the full-scale invasion. Currently, Russia is heavily dependent on Chinese supplies of parts and components, which are vital to the production of drones and other military hardware. More in the next story for you.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz asked Chinese leader Xi Jinping to influence the end of hostilities in Ukraine during a visit to Beijing. In his opinion, signals from Beijing are taken very seriously in Moscow. Notably, the head of the German government announced his plans to discuss Russia's war against Ukraine even before departing for China. This indicates that Europe is working on increasing diplomatic pressure on Russia.
Today I asked my interlocutors to use their influence to put an end to Russia's aggressive war against Ukraine. Beijing can use its influence to achieve this goal. We also know that signals from China are taken very seriously in Moscow. This applies both to words and actions.
Following the meeting, Xi Jinping stated that peace talks should involve equal participation of all parties. And earlier, China's foreign ministry noted that Beijing supports all efforts aimed at peacefully resolving the war in Ukraine. It is worth noting that China's position contradicts Russia's approach, which essentially insists on reaching agreements with the USA without taking into account the positions of Europeans and Ukrainians.
China's position regarding Russia's war against Ukraine is absolutely clear. We support all efforts aimed at establishing peace. Recently, doors have finally opened for dialogue in which the parties maintain momentum. We hope that all parties will seize this opportunity to achieve a comprehensive, lasting, and binding peace agreement. Mao Ning, official spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China.
While publicly declaring neutrality in Russia's war against Ukraine, in reality, China maintains close relations with Moscow that have only strengthened since the start of the full-scale invasion. For example, Russia is heavily dependent on supplies of Chinese parts and components used in the production of drones and military equipment. And imports of Russian oil to China are growing for the third month in a row, reaching record levels of more than 2 million barrels per day. Largely thanks to China's assistance, according to Western experts, Russia is still able to continue the war.
This war is being completely enabled by China. And China could call Vladimir Putin and end this war tomorrow and cut off his dual-purpose technologies that they're selling. China could stop buying Russian oil and gas.
That Beijing has significant influence on Moscow, but is not interested in ending the war, was previously stated by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. According to him, China views Russia as a partner in global confrontation with the United States.
China is indeed a rather complicated issue. We do not have a permanent dialogue with Xi Jinping. We had certain phone conversations, and he told me that he will not sell weapons. And I really do not know about arms packages, but I know one thing. China helps Russia, does not help Ukraine, and is not interested in our victory and in Russia's defeat.
Officially, China emphasizes the need for peaceful resolution of the war and has repeatedly stated support for Ukraine's territorial integrity. Chinese diplomats also speak of humanitarian aid and even the role of mediator in negotiations. But according to experts, China acts cautiously, choosing a strategy to enhance its own advantages.
China would very much like, on one hand, to add fuel to the fire in relations between the USA and Europe, and in problematic moments show that in this case, China is on the side of the European Union because they should be at the negotiating table. China doesn't mind stating its position. They do nothing to strengthen the position of the European Union. As for sovereignty, territorial integrity, as for Russia's aggression, we heard nothing new.
Analysts believe China is trying to balance between supporting Russia as a strategic partner and maintaining economic relations with the West, seeking to use the fact that Europe's economy now needs new diplomatic agreements. European leaders are actively visiting China, aiming to balance trade and resolve economic imbalances. Reported by Maria Jelutchenko, UATV News.
Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay sharp, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments.